Anyone who's worked in emergency medicine knows it's uniquely intense, isn't it?
Yeah.
The chaos, the pressure, the sheer level of commitment needed, especially getting through those Royal College exams.
Absolutely. Some compare it to that infamous 1,000-hour exam benchmark elsewhere. It's a huge undertaking.
It really is. And that's why this deep dive feels so important. We're looking at how to move beyond just powering through.
Exactly. Relying purely on grit, it's just not sustainable long term. So what we've pulled from the source material are more structured, evidence-based ways to actually thrive, not just survive. It's about individual strategies and systemic support.
Right. So we'll be covering things like managing those incredibly hectic shifts, protecting your mental space after the shift, and thinking about the long game career longevity, all drawn from collective experience. Okay, let's get into it. Starting before the shift even begins.
Yes, the pregame, as some call it. Look, peak performance in the ED isn't just luck of the draw. It requires deliberate preparation, these little rituals. Your mindset is really the one thing you can control before you walk in.
Okay, but realistically, you might only have 20 minutes before a 12-hour shift starts. What does that prep look like?
It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be something like using the 5-minute journal, a quick mindfulness exercise, maybe mentally walking through a challenging scenario, not to worry, but to sort of pre-plan your response.
Like a mental rehearsal.
Precisely. And one idea that really stood out from the sources was setting a clear intention. Could be really simple, like, today, I am open to accepting gratitude for my patients.
Huh. That feels small, but I can see how it sets a different tone, maybe buffers against the inevitable frustrations.
It can, yeah. And practically, the sources really emphasize getting in a bit early, just enough time to connect with the team. That quick handover and check-in is vital.
And also, importantly, disconnecting beforehand.
Definitely. Like maybe an hour or two before your shift, try to stay off social media, avoid checking personal emails. You're just trying to reduce that cognitive load before the professional stuff floods in.
Speaking of floods, the sources had this great term for that mid-shift point where your energy's dipping, but the demands are peaking. They called it the Kraken.
Yes, the Kraken, Dr. Britlong's concept. And the point is, you can't just fight it head on with more effort. You need a plan, a structured 5-priority Kraken action plan to deal with that task saturation. It forces you to think about flow and mental energy, not just what feels most urgent.
Okay, let's break that down, because the order seems critical here. Priority 1 is obvious, right?
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Critical patients. Stabilize, manage, get them sorted first.
Then priority 2, new patients. Assess them, get the workup going. But crucially, the sources say complete the history and physical right after seeing them. Why them?
It's about cognitive offloading. You capture that core information, get it documented, and it's out of your working memory. If you leave it, it just adds to that feeling of being overwhelmed, that mental clutter.
Right, makes sense. So criticals, then new patients with immediate H&P. What's next for moving things along?
Priority 3 is results and delegation. Batch review results, grab the team for a quick huddle, run the board, get things moving.
And then number 4 is dispositions. Getting patients out. But again, there's a specific action here.
Finish the chart immediately. As soon as you've made the disposition decision, finalize that documentation. Don't let it pile up. It clears the bed, yes, but it also clears your head.
Okay, so you focus on maybe 2 or 3 dispos, chart them fully, and then
you hit priority 5, the other rate-limiting steps, the procedures or consultations holding things up. And the key is you cycle through this. You keep reapplying that priority sequence until the Kraken, releases its grip. It's a system against the chaos.
it sounds like a lifesaver when things are really hitting the fan,
Yeah.
like in a difficult recess. You need something immediate for that acute stress. That's the Beat This Stress Fool protocol, BTSF.
Yeah, the BTSF protocol. It's about quickly downregulating your own physiology. So B is for breathe. Specifically, exhale for twice as long as you inhale, and try to do it through your nose.
Why the nose breathing and the long exhale? What's that actually doing?
You're hitting the brakes on the sympathetic nervous system, engaging the parasympathetic via the vagus nerve. That slow, controlled exhale is like a physiological calm down signal. It helps you regain cognitive control when the adrenaline's pumping.
Okay. B is breathe. T is talk.
Positive self-talk, or maybe more realistically, acceptance-based noticing. So instead of, oh God, this is a disaster, it's more like, okay, I notice I'm having the thought that this is overwhelming. Acknowledge it. Don't fuse with it.
Right. Then S is C, visualize success. And F is focus, use a trigger word like smooth or steady. I also mentioned of gratitude flooding. as a buffer in really tough moments.
Yeah, consciously bringing to mind things you're deeply grateful for. It sounds a bit counterintuitive maybe, but it can genuinely shift your emotional state away from absorbing all that secondary trauma, a protective layer.
Okay, so you've got these tools for the intense moments, but just getting through the whole shift requires endurance.
Absolutely, and the sources were really clear. Refuel. Every 2 to 3 hours if possible, eat something, drink something, and a big warning about caffeine relying on it can really mess up your recovery later. Its effects can last, what, up to 12 hours?
Yeah, that disrupts sleep, which is crucial. And related to performance and mental load, timely documentation. It's not just admin, is it? The sources framed it as.
A procedure you do for you. That's spot on. Finishing notes as you go frees up that mental bandwidth. It stops that horrible feeling at the end of a shift, staring at a mountain of charts, that pit of despair. Timely charting is self-care.
Okay, so that's managing on shift. But the transition out is just as vital for staying sane long term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Processing the day, actually switching off. That seemed like a huge predictor of avoiding burnout.
It really is. We need these boundary rituals. The sources had some great metaphors, like the guest house approach, seeing difficult feelings from the day as temporary visitors.
Based on the Rumi poem.
Exactly. You acknowledge the anger, the sadness, whatever guest arrives. You don't have to fight it or own it forever. You just notice it, maybe name it, and then let it go. Don't let it move in permanently.
That takes practice, I imagine. Acknowledging instead of just pushing down. Simple physical things help too, presumably.
Oh, definitely. The simple act of changing out of your scrubs before you leave the hospital, it sounds basic, but it creates a really clear mental line. Work is done.
A physical boundary.
Yeah. And for really tough cases, that cutting strings visualization was mentioned. Taking a moment, wishing the patient well in your mind, and then consciously, mentally cutting the emotional cord connecting you to that case. Ritualized letting go.
But sometimes shifts are just bad, or there's a terrible outcome. How do you recover from that? Dr. Sarah Gray's APSS framework came up.
Right. APSS. First is awareness. You have to actually recognize, okay, this hit me hard. I need to actively recover.
Yeah.
Allow the feelings.
Processing, which means talking, right?
Yes, but specifically talking to a supportive person, what the source is called a failure friend, someone who just listens. No judgment, no easy fixes, no blame, just listens.
That non-judgmental listening feels key, especially in medicine where there's so much pressure to be perfect. After processing comes self-care, and then silver lining, finding the lesson learned.
And the absolute crucial piece of advice woven through all of this, you must forgive yourself after a bad outcome. Carrying endless guilt and suffering doesn't help you, and it certainly doesn't help your future patients.
That's a powerful point. And it leads us into distinguishing between these different types of distress we hear about. Burnout, moral injury, compassion fatigue. They aren't the same thing. Burnout, for example, is often systemic.
That's right, often driven by things outside your direct control workload. Admin burden, lack of autonomy, staffing issues. The sources mentioned an intervention during the pandemic that actually cut burnout rates significantly. By focusing on 3 things, leadership had to really listen to the clinicians, genuinely identify their specific pain points, and then crucially find areas where the team could have some agency, some control, even amidst the chaos.
Okay, so that's burnout. Then moral injury is different. It's about your ethical code being violated.
Exactly. It's the distress from situations where you feel like you've acted against or failed to act in line with your own moral compass. It might not even be a mistake you made, but maybe being forced into decisions by the system, resource issues, futile care conflicts, that sort of thing.
Right, so self-forgiveness might not be the whole answer there. What helps with moral injury?
Acknowledging it as an injury, for starters. Practicing self-compassion. Some find a moral injury journal helpful for processing, but systemically, it really points to needing more transparency and better ways for clinicians and administrators to navigate those ethical gray zones together.
And the third one, compassion fatigue.
That's the deep emotional exhaustion from constantly being exposed to suffering. Secondary traumatic stress, basically. And the key insight from the sources wasn't just do more self-care to recharge, but actively cultivate compassion satisfaction.
Meaning?
Finding the parts of the job that do nourish you, that give you that sense of meaning and connection, and consciously trying to build more of those moments into your work. It's the antidote to the constant drain.
Okay, shifting gears slightly to the wider environment. Let's talk about culture. A healthy culture was defined simply as the way we do things around here.
And that way should be built on virtues like trust, compassion, justice, hope. I particularly liked the mention of temperance, that idea that calm is contagious. As leaders, as team members, maintaining composure under pressure sets the tone.
And the flip side, rudeness, incivility. The impact is significant, isn't it? That statistic about witnesses performing 20% worse.
It's staggering, and it underlines why that mantra is so important. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. We all have a role in calling out or addressing unprofessional behavior because it directly impacts patient care, not just morale.
And that culture of respect extends to patients, too, moving from just competence to cultural safety.
Yes, cultural safety. It's about humility, really. Recognizing our own biases, a power imbalance inherent in the doctor-patient relationship, and practically it means dropping blaming language like non-compliance.
So instead of non-compliant,
You just non-judgmentally document the reason the patient gives. Unable to afford medication, lacks transport to appointment, expresses fear of side effects. It focuses on the actual barriers, which helps provide genuinely safer, more effective care.
okay, thinking longer term now, career longevity. The sources posed a core question. How do you feel about the core of your work? If that's still good, maybe small tweaks are enough. If not,
Then it's time for recalibration. They describe 3 levels. Micro is like a tune-up, small workflow tweaks, better boundaries. Macro is a remodel, maybe taking on a new role like in education or leadership, shifting your focus.
and mega.
That's the full rebuild, a significant career change, maybe even leaving clinical medicine.
For many, though, sustainability comes from the portfolio career idea. Clinical medicine +1.
Exactly. But that +1, whether it's research, teaching, mentoring, whatever it has to be there, it has to be something that genuinely recharges you, aligns with your values. If it just becomes another source of stress and obligation, it's not serving its purpose. It has to feed you, not drain you further.
And finally, something very practical, especially for our listeners here in the UK.
Yeah.
Financial health. It underpins so much, doesn't it? Freedom, well-being.
Absolutely critical. The sources recommend specific steps, like actually having a financial personal development plan, a PDP, and being really hot on tax efficiency.
Which means
Making sure you're claiming everything you're entitled to rebates for your GMC fees, Royal College subs, indemnity insurance costs, and crucially, checking your tax code regularly, especially if you change jobs or roles. It's easy to end up overpaying if you don't.
and building that emergency fund buffer, at least 3 months essential expenses.
Right.
Plus, checking the NHS pension statement.
Yes, the total reward statement, the TRS. Check it every single year. Make sure the details are accurate, your contributions, your predicted benefits. For many NHS doctors, that pension is their biggest asset outside their home. Don't just assume it's correct. Verify it.
Okay, so we've covered a huge amount, from pre-shift rituals to long-term financial planning.
And I think the overarching message from all the sources is that well-being isn't just your job, it's a shared responsibility. It rests with you, yes, but also with your colleagues, your managers, the hospital leadership, the whole system. Hospitals need to ensure working conditions are reasonable, that doctor well-being is actually part of their core strategy.
So we've moved from just thinking about how to survive the intensity of EM to how you can actively structure things for a more sustainable, maybe even fulfilling career. So what does this all mean for you listening?
Well, the source material highlighted something important. Clinicians are often trained to hide any sign of struggle. It makes distress hard to spot. So while it's not your job to fix a colleague who might be struggling, you can offer support. Think about this. What subtle sign might you be walking past, and what simple, genuine question could you ask? Maybe something like, hey, I just noticed things seemed a bit tough earlier, and I care about how you're doing, just wanted to check in. Something that normalizes it, shows genuine curiosity and care, and leaves the door open for them if they do want to talk or seek help. That simple act, it can make a world of difference.